There is this episode of The Office where Michael is motivating his team, telling them all day that he has this big surprise. And over the course of the day, it becomes clear that Michael didn't really plan a surprise. And at one point, he brings in ice cream sandwiches, and everyone's like, "Is this the surprise?" And he's like, No, just wait." And then eventually, kind of everyone kind of mills about and waits around, and no surprise. This week, the administration released their autism report. And basically, there were a couple of big things that I'll try and talk about over a few videos when it comes to the findings about autism that have been uncovered now after the big build-up and all those sorts of things. I was actually surprised that they just pinned a lot of it on acetaminophen or Tylenol, because I felt like if the people that are in charge get to say what causes autism, that there would have been more of a focus on other things. RFK has talked about, especially around vaccines in the past, like there was not really much mention that they were the culprit that I think everyone is expecting to hear under these circumstances. Now, when it comes to acetaminophen, there's a few different things I want to say about that. First and foremost, there's a bunch of studies that have looked at the different causes of autism. And unsurprisingly, to everybody in the medical field, like it's complicated, and it's not like there's this one big hidden thing that was going to be revealed in September, and now we all know. It's really complicated. It's multifactorial. A lot of it is genetic. There are environmental and other sorts of like triggers that contribute to it that we're still trying to work through. So there isn't one big thing. Specifically, when it comes to acetaminophen, we have a bunch of studies that don't show the signal, and it is confusing. And even the MAHA report says that there's conflicting information out there. So it's not the slam dunk, we got it, we figured it out, that it was made up to be. It's much more close to ice cream sandwiches. Recently, there was a study with over 2 million kids in Scandinavia that looked at the different signals, including acetaminophen, and found no relationship. There are other studies that have actually showed some benefit. And one thing I'm going to talk about in just a minute is maternal fever and how that can contribute to health issues with the child. So acetaminophen, not the big thing. Now, the second thing that really bothered me about everything that resulted in me taking a couple of days to actually get my mind and thoughts around it is the language and the approach. The words like tragedy or scourge, there's so much dehumanizing language that it is so hard for people that are honored to have autistic children and adults in their life to hear the way that it's talked about is just really disturbing. It's not something to be feared. It's not something where we should be making children or their families feel less than or put the blame on them. And in a second, I'll just talk about how all the blame falls on moms and continues to do so. The lived experience of those that have an autistic child or are an autistic adult is not what you're hearing at the podiums. And it is not the experience of pediatricians or others that get to help these families to help their child to thrive. The thing that I'm worried about there's a bunch of different worries on my mind when it comes to all this, but one of them is we've talked in dehumanizing ways about other people in the past, and in the more distant past, and in the more recent past, and it is very concerning to me about the way that autistic people are being treated and talked about in this discourse that's coming from the administration. The third thing that really bothered me about this is maternal blame. Moms get blamed for everything about their children. Way back when autism was first being discussed, there was the concept, and you can Google it if you want, of the refrigerator mother, and that's what caused autism. And we know that's not the case, but it's history repeating itself in so many different ways with all of the talk around autism. And one of them is the blaming the moms. Somebody says, "Oh, my child is autistic." Did you take Tylenol during pregnancy? Got it. When there aren't good signals to represent that that is the case, nor is it helpful at all. One of the things that must be remembered is that maternal fever during pregnancy is actually dangerous to the newborn. It can lead to developmental issues. It can lead to pregnancy loss and miscarriage or stillbirth. Maternal fever isn't something that we just tough it out. And the language around just toughing it out is so dehumanizing and just demoralizing. And there's no solutions other than guilt and shame in the way that it's talked about. When we don't have any hard data that says we should be doing something. We shouldn't just add to maternal guilt, maternal shame, telling parents to just tough it out when they're sick, when actually toughing it out, like with a fever, could put your newborn at risk as well. So it's not simply like just tough it out. Autism is not a tragedy. It is not a scourge. Autism represents challenges for families in a lot of different ways, and we should be figuring out ways to support those children and their families and to help them thrive rather than making them feel dehumanized, less than. We should focus on supporting, understanding, and building a world that supports and understands that there are a lot of different experiences and that neurodiversity is good for us as humans.